Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy Core Class Skywarp. So here he is. Before we take a look at him, let's take a look at the packaging. So here we have the new Core Class style packaging. So of course we have the Legacy logo, we have Transformers, we also have the Legacy logo up here. We have a nice shot of his really cool fighter jet. Of course we have Skywarp there. On the side we have another nice artwork of Skywarp himself. And on the back of course he transforms into 17 steps, the same number of steps as Kingdom Starscream. Of course we have two shots of Skywarp in his robot and alt mode. And of course another shot of the Decepticon Legacy artwork. We have Megatron, Dragstrip, we have Iguanus, Skywarp, and Kickback there. Also Cybertron of course. And that's pretty much it for the packaging, so now let's move on to the review. Here we have Skywarp in his robot mode. Let's take a look at the details. So starting at the top with the head, the helmet is done in some nice black, the face is done with some silver, and of course the eyes are done in some nice bright red. For these main shoulder sections, they're mostly done in silver of course, with a nice kind of turban sort of fan design on the chest there. That looks pretty good. Of course there's some nice yellow there for the main cockpit section on the chest. Also of course with some outlining of black. That looks pretty good. For the arms themselves, there's some nice black for the shoulder and some purple for the forearm and the hand there, which looks pretty good in my opinion. Down to the lower part of the figure we have some nice black for the waist and crotch and the top of the legs, which looks pretty good. Well sculpted overall. And now for the lower part, of course we have some nice wing design on the side near the foot, and of course the foot itself is mostly done in purple, which looks pretty good. And back here, of course, the wings are done pretty well. There's a nice purple stripe there with a nice Decepticon symbol, of course, on both wings, which looks pretty good in my opinion. Very small, but overall looks pretty good. And of course, on this side of the wing, it's actually pretty simple, just really done in black. But overall, I think this is a really good looking Skywarp in my opinion. I think just really the one thing that takes this down the most is there is no raise, which is a really big problem in my opinion. I think a lot of people share that same opinion of mine, but overall, just to figure out alone, I think it's pretty good. So now let's move into the articulation. So for the head, of course, it can rotate all the way around. It's very tight, of course, and it's kind of hard to move around these things, but it can rotate all the way around. The wings, there's a hinge, so you can hinge them back and forth to have a more dynamic look. The shoulder here is on a ball joint, so of course it can go back and forward, it can go out and in. There's also a ball joint here at the forearm, so it can rotate all the way around. There is an elbow bend, and that's pretty much it for the arm. Now for the legs, you can do the full splits. Also there is no waist rotation. There is a knee bend. It can kick that far back. And of course it can kick that far forward. And unfortunately, there is no ankle tilt, which I kind of do wish was an option of this figure, because sometimes it can actually be very hard to actually have this figure stand, so I actually do want to apologize at a time if this falls over, because sometimes, since there is no ankle tilt, and sometimes he's kind of unsteady, he might fall back. But overall, pretty good articulation for a core class figure. Let's now move into the accessories. So he comes with one interesting, weird prong weapon, not really sure what you would call this, but there's some nice red, of course, and the rest is black, and there's several ways you can actually use this. So the first way, of course, you can have him hold it with this handle, so just plug that into place just like that. So then, of course, you could have him like zapping or electrocuting some Autobots and Maximals, or maybe he'll betray Megatron with Starscream and kill him or something like that. I don't know. Make up your own story. But overall, that looks pretty good. And the second way you can have him hold it is there is a peg here, and of course there's his hand, so if you just plug that right into place, he can be using it more as a gun and less as like a taser or like a staff, like I showed you before, which looks pretty good. And actually there is another peg there, which you can plug some blaster pieces into if you want to. There is also another feature for that, which I can show in just a second. But overall, that looks pretty good. There's really not much any other way of storage, really. Overall, it looks pretty cool. Not my favorite accessory, of course. I really think they should have just scrapped this and maybe given this accessory to Iguanus, and we could have had the no raise with this figure, because it just seems kind of odd having this placed next to Kingdom Starscream without his no raise. It just seems out of place, in my opinion. But overall, pretty good as an accessory. So now, of course, there is one last thing you can do with this really cool accessory. If you have this accessory, and if you have Legacy Iguanus and Legacy / Kingdom Hot Rod, you can bring out his sword, and of course Iguanus's gun piece, you can actually kind of connect all of these together. And I would just like to say, out of these three pieces that make up the sword, I probably have to say Skywarp's is the weakest, because just a standalone piece, it looks kind of weird. I think standalone, of course, the sword works, and a standalone piece here, this works with Iguanus. Just with this, Skywarp alone just seems kind of weird in my opinion. Okay, so now for the construction of this crazy sword, you're just going to plug this right into place just like that, and there we go. I think the overall that looks pretty cool. And then what you can do is, of course, get the sword and just plug that into place right here. And there we have the big Ultra Sword. And if you don't understand how it's constructed, I, of course, will show this in Iguanus's review as well. So if you don't understand here, just go watch his review and you'll be able to see it again. So, very, very cool. Overall, I think it's painted pretty well. There's some nice crackling blue effect on the blade, and there's, of course, some red, some nice bronze there, some red, some more black, and red there. Overall, a very crazy looking sword, especially if you put it in a minifigure like this, because the figure and the sword are definitely maybe a little bit too big for each other, but overall that looks really, really cool in my opinion. I think he is definitely well equipped for battle. I think he could definitely take out a few opponents, Autobots and Maximals. So overall, I think the feature is pretty cool in my opinion. At times, of course, from certain views it might look a little hodgepodgey, but overall I think the concept and the idea, I think it works pretty well. So now let's move into some comparisons. So now for some comparisons, here we have Hot Rod, Skywarp, and Iguanus here. So here's the first three core class figures of Legacy Wave 1, and I think overall they're pretty good figures. Just my main complaint would really be with Skywarp here. Unfortunately, he does not have his null raise, which is really odd to me. I really wish what they had done is given him his null raise, and they could have given this weird prong piece to Iguanus here, so he would have two accessories. And I know, of course, most core class figures do not come with two accessories, so if they up the price for Iguanus here, I'd be perfectly fine with that, as long as, of course, the Seeker here gets his null raise, because I think it'll look very odd and out of place whenever people display Skywarp here with Starscream, who does have his null raise, and of course Skywarp does not, so it honestly seemed kind of odd and weird, like you lost him or something, so I really do wish they had corrected that. I do know, of course, there is some third-party companies printing out some null raise for Skywarp, so I actually might consider maybe buying some of those. I typically do not believe on upper kits, but honestly, with the situation, I think it might have to be that way. But still, these three figures here are pretty good. If you already watched my Iguanus review, you know I love him. He's an absolutely amazing figure. He's actually probably my favorite core class figure yet. I'm surprised if they could beat that, so highly suggest to get him. Skywarp is a good figure just on his own. His accessory is really his main downfall. I think Hot Rod is pretty good. There's been actually quite a bit of criticism for him, but I actually think he's pretty cool. So that's the first set of comparisons. Let's move on to some more. For another quick comparison, here we have Transformers Kingdom Core Class Starscream and Transformers Legacy Core Class Skywarp. So as you can see, they're very, very similar in sculpt. I think there is relatively no sculpting changes. They're pretty much the exact same thing. Of course, the only difference is the color style. Of course, we have much lighter colors here, the gray, the blue, and the red. And Skywarp here, he has much darker colors of the dark purple and the black and the silver. Two really good figures that I do highly recommend. It's just, I think where Skywarp falls short, of course, is he does not have null raise, and I think that takes away the playability factor and the display factor, because if you want to display these next to each other, I think it'll look quite odd having Starscream have his null raise and Skywarp not having any. I think that'll just look weird and awkward. So I do hope if they make more of these Seekers in the core class size, that they will always give them null raise from now on. I think they will learn their lesson. That is just kind of a mistake not to give them. Still, again, two really good figures. I think it just falls short without the null raise. So now let's move on to some more comparison. One more comparison. Here we have Soundwave, Skywarp, and Megatron, all looking really good next to each other. Of course, these are some of the most popular Decepticons from the G1 show. I think they look very accurate to the G1 show, and I think they look very, very good. In the comment section down below, which one is a core class figure you would like them to make in the future, and which one is your favorite they have already made now. I really, really do hope they make a core class Shockwave. That would look really cool. The G1 version, of course, I do know they made a Bumblebee version, and of course, he looked pretty cool, but he does transform into more of a tank. I'd really like if they made a Shockwave that transformed into the G1 gun. That'd be super cool to see, and really super cool to have to display with all these really cool figures. Let's now move on to transformation. Down to transformation, so we're going to start at the legs here. So what you can do is bring these little wing fin pieces up, peg those into place, just like that. And there we go. Then we can go to the chest region. You can just split this in half, bringing this out just like this. and that fully back. And then you can peg the legs together, just like this. Make sure they're aligned and straight. And then what you're going to do is bring the head down, rotate it just like that, and then you can bring this nose cone section out and down as well. Then you can go to the side, angle the legs down and angle the nose cone section down, and then this will be able to rotate fully around just like this. And then there is tabs here and there's slots on the inside of this piece right here, and that will just tab into place just like that. Then you can go to the front section. There's this hinge that will hinge fully forward. You can bring the nose cone section down and aligned like that. Then you can go here, you can bring the head down in that cavity, and there's pretty much the first half fully done and complete. And then what you're going to want to do is go to the bottom, and then these two halves will sort of meet together in the middle just like this. And then there is slots and tabs on the arms, so just rotate and tab that into place just like this. Of course, do the same thing on the other side, rotate and tab that in just like that. And then one last step, you can bring these fin pieces out. Unfortunately, they are actually very, very loose on my copy, as I said before, so just peg that back onto place, and there we have Skywarp in his jet mode, looking very, very cool. Let's take a look at the details. Here we have Skywarp in his jet mode compared next to Transformers Kingdom Core Class Starscream. As you can see, of course, they're pretty much the exact same jet, just a completely different color scheme, much darker colors, but of course, they're very similar in sculpt and shape and design, but still two really cool looking jets, and I do hope they continue this this Core Class Seeker concept in line, because it'd actually be really cool to have a mini collection of all the Seekers. Maybe they'll do the Rainmakers, maybe the Coneheads. That'd be really cool to see. And of course, they don't have Thundercracker out yet, but I probably will expect them to do that very soon. But overall, still two really cool looking jets in my opinion. Let me know which one is your favorite Seeker in the comment section down below. Just in general, not of course this specific line or this specific figure. Just in general, what is your favorite Seeker? Please let me know in the comment section down below. So now for storage for Skywarp, it's actually pretty simple. You can just get this peg there, and there is a port, and that can plug right into place just like that, right at the front. Not the best storage, but of course it's a very odd shaped accessory, so I don't think there's many other places you could actually put it. But overall, still looks pretty cool at the front. If you wanted to, you could plug a blast piece on there and have it like firing down the Autobots below. That'd look pretty cool. So overall, two really cool jets. Let's now move into the final. For the final thoughts, I think with the jet mode here, it looks pretty good. Of course, it's the exact same sculpt as Starscream, but still I think it looks pretty cool. I like the nice dark purple and blue mixture. I like the orange and silver at the front. The weapon storage, it's not that but good, but of course the accessory is kind of weirdly shaped, so kind of hard to just stick on a jet and not actually look good. I do wish this figure came with the no-rays, because it's kind of a shame they don't come without with them, because of course Starscream, the version before this, did come with them, so it does look sort of out of place when he's standing next to him. Overall transformation is very simple. Of course, it's the exact same as Starscream, so if you have that figure, you know exactly how to do this one. I'd only complaint really, of course, the no-rays. Also, there's a few areas where it could be a little bit tighter, and actually there's a few areas where they're a little bit too tight. These back purple fin pieces, they're way too tight. They're really, really hard to move. Of course, transforming it from jet mode to robot mode, and of course, vice versa. Also, the little black fin pieces there, those are too loose, because when you saw me transforming it, one of them actually popped off. Of course, you can just pop them back on, but it is kind of a pain in the butts every time you transform this, that one pops off, and of course you could have risk the possibility of losing one, because they're very, very small. So if you get this figure, do be aware you could have a copy like mine where there's a few loose pieces here and there. Robot mode, overall it's really good. Of course, it's the exact same thing as Starscream, of course, just a completely different new style. Of course, much darker colors, and Starscream was much lighter colors. And again, the absence of the no-rays does make a difference. I know some people are like, oh, it doesn't matter, but overall, it kind of does in my opinion, because it's a Seeker. He has to have his no-rays. The electrocuting gun, it's pretty cool whenever you combine it with the other pieces. The big ultra combined sword is pretty cool. Accessory, standalone, just standalone accessory, it's kind of weird. I'm not really entirely sure what it's supposed to be. You know, it's like a gun or an electrocuting thing. I'm not entirely sure. Let me know what you think it is in the comment section down below. Overall, this is a good figure, of course. It's not a bad figure, just, you know, there's a few problems here and there that do take it down. I wish there could be, you know, better joints in some areas, and of course it's missing the accessories that we all know, the null rays. But hopefully I'll be able to get the third-party or 3 printed versions on eBay. I know several companies are making those, so I actually might take a chance and get those. Let me know what you think of the Seeker. Does it really make a difference to you if it comes with the null rays or not? Let me know if you actually care. Does it matter he doesn't come with them? I think probably most people do care, but who knows? Maybe some people don't. I think that's pretty much it for this review, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.